Okay, so it's time to begin my review for this book right here, J.V. Cade's Bot Wars, and this is the second best book that I've read so far this year. It has received 4.5 stars from me as an official rating. However, on Goodreads, you can't give a 0.5, which... Let's start this campaign, guys, seriously. Because I've rated a lot of my books 0.5, and you can't do that on Goodreads. So on Goodreads it's a 4-star rating, but officially it's a 4.5-star rating. If you have not seen any of my reviews before, they are spoiler and non-spoiler. The first part of the review is me discussing non-spoiler. The non-spoiler part of the review, I give you 3 cons and 3 pros about the book that don't spoil it. Just gives you a little bit of information, a little bit of a teaser. Is this for you? Is it not for you? Then I go into the spoiler section. I'm doing well today. Come on, Francy. Then I go into the spoiler section and I discuss the plot of the book and my thoughts on the book as well. So we're just going to take a moment and we'll be right back to discuss all of that. One moment, please. Okay. So, to my first con of this book, and we're not going to spend a lot of time here, you guys, we really aren't. My first con for this book is that there is a plot convenience, and I just didn't like how convenient it was. I really don't want to spoil any of the book, so I'm just going to say something happens to the protagonist and the company that the protagonist is keeping, and it seems like they are doomed. One sentence, literally one sentence later, this is resolved and they're out of that doomed position. This does not work for me. It just does not work for me at all. It's kind of like having one guy standing out in the middle of a field and an army of soldiers is racing at him, swords raised, they're gonna kill him, he doesn't stand a chance, and then all of a sudden they all just die. It's way too convenient. I did not like that. So I had to take a small mark off for that because it just really disappointed me that we weren't allowed to just sit there and experience this moment of, oh my gosh, this is horrible. But anyway, I don't know if this is a middle grade thing. I assume, because I don't read a lot of middle grade, but I assume it is, that there are plot conveniences in middle grade books. But even if they'd been in that particularly harrowing situation for one page, I would have been fine. But it was like one sentence saying we're in a harrowing situation, next sentence, we're no longer in the harrowing situation. Really? But anyway, the second con of Bot Wars by J.V. Cade is that she uses terminology that sounds like sci-fi terminology in place of your standard everyday jargon, and that annoyed me because it was like learning a whole new language and I just didn't appreciate it. I can see where she's going. I get it. It is a middle grade sci-fi, and so I understand that she is targeting an audience that is much younger than I am, and they probably appreciate that a heck of a lot more than I did, but it just wasn't for me. I'll give you an example. One of the words that she uses in this book is the characters use in this book is the word wretched or wretched, something like that, or wrenched, something along those lines. You can check out my Goodreads review on this to see how it's written. Anyway, this word apparently is the substitute for the word cool, awesome, great, amazing. Yeah, so she decided to use wrenched. I believe it's wrenched because that sounds more sci-fi. Then cool, awesome, amazing, wonderful. And that just, kind of annoyed me. And there are other examples of this too. She probably substitutes about 10 words, and when they're strung together in a sentence, it's hard to know what they're saying. And it took me a little while to grasp the language that everyone is using in this book for normal everyday jargon over whether something is really amazing, like over how they feel especially. So there is one exception to the rule that I will grant her with this translated work, and that is the word damn, D-A-M-N, has been substituted for the word jam, J-A-M. While I don't appreciate that personally, I do understand that this is a middle grade book and it is targeted to younger children, and so therefore I absolutely appreciate that she has substituted the word damn, which is probably not a word you want to have little children reading, and I mean it's middle grade, so it's little children reading, for the word jam, and the spreadable. So I do appreciate that. But otherwise, did not like that. My third con, and I said it this way in Goodreads as well, is nada. As in nada. As in, I don't have a third con for this book. And that shows you how this book can easily reach 4.5 stars. With every review I have done, I have managed to pick out 3 things I don't like about the book, but these 2 things that I've mentioned are the only things I don't like about this book. So let's move on to pros, because it was an amazing book. My first pro for this book is that it deals with the missing father trope. I did not know this was a trope, but it is. And this is the first time that I was reading a missing father trope, so that's why I didn't know. But I really, really appreciated that. I go into a little more detail in my Goodreads review, so you can check that out over there. But I loved that. It was that, yeah, made it an amazing... wasn't the only thing that made it amazing, but that was an amazing part of this book. My next pro with this book is that it was exciting. It may have been a middle grade sci-fi. 2 things that I thought, I'll get through it. I'll probably give it a 2 or a 3, the absolute most a 3, and see how we go. But I tell you what, from page 1 all the way through to the end, I had so much fun with this book. It was an amazingly fun ride. My third pro about this book, selected pro because there are many, is the characters in this book. The protagonist is, he's just so much fun. He's a determined, sprightly, fun-loving little kid, and I really appreciated that. He ends up, making a friend about halfway through the book who very strongly reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen the show Switched at Birth, but if you have, Bay-Kenish, the character of Bay-Kenish, her personality. So I did really appreciate that because I did love Bay in that show. And there are robots. I guess that's not a spoiler at this point because you can see a robot on the picture and it's called Bot Wars. There are robots in this book, and there is a robot in this book whose name is Scissor. I'm just going to give you the name, or Scissor or Scissors or something like that. Oh my god, she's the most adorable little thing. She seriously is. I actually annotated, I'm just going to move the book. I actually annotated this book. I need to try and find where my annotations are, but I did. I annotated this book, and there was a certain point where Scissor came up and that's kind of what had me starting to do annotations. So I'll just pause and find that and be right back. Okay, so I couldn't find the annotation that I specifically wanted, but yeah, this will give you a little bit of an idea. So I've underlined some things, written some comments in the margins. Yeah, here's another example. Yeah, so it's been a really good experience. I didn't borrow this book. This is a book that I bought, so I was able to write things in the margins. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to annotate. But anyway, Scissor is really, really cute, and as are all of the characters that are good. If I say to you guys that there is a basic good versus evil concept in this book, the good characters, love them. Love every single one of them. 4.5 stars, what can I say? I did not think I would come here to you guys and talk about a middle grade sci-fi. I've never read a sci-fi before, and it's a middle grade book, and I did not think I would come here and say, this was amazing, but it absolutely was, and it was good because I was getting into a bit of a reading slump. The book I read prior to this one received 3 stars. The book prior to that received 2 stars. The book prior to that received 1 star. So my books are getting better at the moment, and I'm really, really, really happy about that. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the non-spoiler section of this review. I'm going to pause, and then when we come back, we're going to go right into spoilers. I'm going to tell you all about what the plot is about, and end with what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and all that kind of stuff. So if you are here for the non-spoiler version, thank you so much for joining me. Comment below and let me know what you thought of this book, or if it's something you're interested in reading. We'll be back with the spoiler version in just a moment. Alright, spoiler time it is. Let's get right into the plot of this book. So, you've been warned, here we go with spoilers. This book, Bot Wars by J.V. Cade, is it is a middle grade sci-fi, as I've already said. It received 4.5 stars from me. It centers around a boy whose name is Trout. I had to think there because I know it's the name of a fish. That's not his real name. His real name is Aiden, but everyone just seems to call him Trout. Trout lives with his brother, whose name is Poe. His brother has another name, but his brother fought in a war and lost one of his legs, and so in a really cute nickname way, right, because it's a middle grade, it's not a teasing way, in a cute way, everyone seems to endearingly call him Poe because it is short for pogo stick. So, and the brother loves that, so everyone just calls him Poe. So Trout and Poe live together. Their mother has died way before the book began, and their father is missing, hence the whole missing father trope. And Trout is doing everything he can, trying to move heaven and earth to find his father, but they don't really seem to be getting anywhere. They're checking in at this place that they can check in to see if he has come back online to let everyone know he's okay, but apparently he is just not coming back online. No one knows where he is. He'd gone off to war. We don't know what's going on, but he has not been confirmed dead, and not for a moment does Trout think he is dead. He just thinks he's missing and just trying to work out where he is. Anyway, one night while Poe is out working, Trout is at home watching a TV show of it's kind of like a reality show where this film crew and this host go over to a house of someone who is incredibly ill, and through charitable means they end up giving him or her, I think it's like a year's worth of their bills paid off and a lifetime of groceries or something like that. And Trout really loves watching the show, loved watching the episode of that show, and gets inspired to write an email to this network to ask them if they can help him find his dad. The network takes a while to get back to him, but when they finally do, they say no, which is really disappointing. Poor Trout. Eventually, however, Trout decides that he's going to make a video to advertise the fact that his father's not there, and yeah, hopefully people will watch the video and will be able to help him out. This book is set in another world, so there is world building contained within this book. It's not set in Humanlandia. While there are things that are done that seem very reminiscent of what humans would do, it's very much set in another world because there are things that go on in this world that just do not happen in reality. One example of this being that having a video account where you can upload videos to the internet is a massively big deal, and you can't have one unless you have your parents' permission, which is not the same here. Anyone can sign up for YouTube and use it, where not here. And so with his mum gone, Trout's mum gone, Trout's dad missing, he doesn't have one. But the lady who does the show, the host of the show that rejected him, her daughter has a video account, and even though they only know of each other from school but they're not really friends, Trout is so motivated to do this video that he goes over to see this girl, and the girl, feels sorry for him when he tells her the story, and they work together on creating this video. The video is absolutely successful. It goes completely viral, and he wakes up the next day to thousands of emails from everyone, but no one has any helpful information. They're just kind of commenting on the video itself. Unfortunately, what happens is a couple of days later, Poe is at work and he calls Trout and says one word: run. And we don't know why, but Trout knows Poe wouldn't say this if it wasn't necessary, so he runs away from his home and he runs over to the girl's house, and the next thing you know, the girl is talking to him upstairs and the cops have arrived at her place and they are looking for Trout, even though Trout has done nothing wrong. And then, well, this is kind of a plot convenience, but not the one I was referring to. A robot kind of jumps into the room, into the girl's room, and says, come with me if you want to live, kind of thing. It's a beautiful middle grade book, really, because this would not happen in an adult book. It wouldn't be this easy. But anyway, but it was fun. And obviously Trout has reservations, doesn't really want to go with the robot, but ultimately ends up going with him. To cut a long story very short, the robot ends up taking him to the bot side of this universe, which isn't that far away, but suffice it to say that in this small world, there's kind of like a line drawn down the middle, and on this side you just have humans, and humans that are scared of robots and want nothing to do with robots, and if you find a robot, bring it to us because we're going to kill the robot, which is kind of sad. And then on this side you have the botverse or bot universe or something like that, where it's not only robots who are living in a sanctuary where no one's harming them, but they're living among humans who love them. And so this robot, whose name is LT, takes Trout to Bot Universe and takes him to his dad, which is really awesome. And we have this emotional moment where he meets his dad. He sees his dad again for the first time in goodness knows how long. And that was really beautiful. But his dad is alive, but he definitely doesn't look the same as he used to. Vital organs within his dad were starting to shut down and he would have died, but they reconstructed those organs and made them robotic, and now he's kind of like half man, half robot. Trout's dad, when he went into the war, he was totally against robots, but because of what they've done for him, he now loves robots, and he wants to fight for them and for their freedom, and everyone in this bot universe looks up to Trout's dad, and he's some kind of leader there now because the humans trust him because he's half human, the robots trust him because he's half robot, and everyone loves him because he loves both humans and robots. So that works out really well. Trout ends up meeting a girl who is the daughter of one of the guys who works for his dad, and they get along really well. This is the girl I was referring to who reminds me of Bay Kenish from Switched at Birth, and yeah, everything seems to go well for a little while. Trout is really enjoying his time in the bot universe world. There's a lot that goes on, so I'm sorry that it's a long plot. Anyway, ultimately, what we find out is that Poe has actually been captured by those in charge of the human-only side of the world, and they are basically holding him for ransom, and what we work out is that the government of the human side know that Trout's father has been betraying those who are against robots because he's one of them and living and breathing and walking amongst them now, and this is massive heresy. So they're holding Poe hostage and saying they will not release him until the dad comes down with these other humans that he's working with, and they all turn themselves in, then they'll release Poe. So everyone's trying to work out what to do, and they have ushered the kids from the room before they play the video because they don't want the kids to watch, but Smart V, her name is spelled V-E-E, who is the one that I'm referring to as like Bay Kenish, Smart V has found her way into like an air vent or something, and therefore they're able to watch and see the video themselves, and the kids in their own mind go, you know what, we're going to deal with this, we'll go rescue him ourselves so that our fathers don't have to go and do this. So they ultimately go on that wild journey back into human-only universe and attempt to rescue Poe. They find Poe. They end up rushing into his cell where he is, and then they get locked in by someone who they thought was with them, but he's actually working against them, and then they become trapped. This is where the plot convenience comes about. LT, the robot, was traveling with them, and Trout turns to LT and says, "Can you break through one of the walls so we can get out of here?" And LT says, "Why, yes. Yes, I can." And it's like, really? Then why did they get trapped for a sentence? And he does. He breaks them out. Like, maybe 4 sentences later, they're out of there. So there was just no point. It was a massive reveal. This guy who they think is with them has betrayed them. He's trapped them, but he's trapped them for 4 sentences of the book. But anyway, so ultimately, as I said, they do get out and they end up making it back home. And, yeah, there's a bit of a battle that goes on towards the end, but they win the battle. So that's great. And then they all go back home to Bot Universe together, and everyone's very happy, and they all lived happily ever after. Just kind of trying to wrap it up as quickly as I can. But yeah, that's basically the plot of Bot Wars, and it was just so much fun. I've never read a sci-fi before. I didn't think I'd enjoy this because it was a middle grade, but plot convenience aside, and those words, as I said earlier, aside, yeah, that was so wrenched. Okay, it was absolutely amazing. So quickly, my thoughts on this. It was a wonderful book. I had no issues with it. Loved everything about it. It's definitely a book that I would recommend. I had a blast with this book, you guys, and I don't know, I think part of me thought, oh, it's a middle grade, and I don't know if I'll like it, but hey, it was a fun book, what can I tell you? And so if I get the chance to read another middle grade that's, kind of like this was around about 350 odd page middle grade book. So it wasn't like it was a pamphlet of 100 pages or less. It was, for a middle grade book, it's a long book. If I get another chance to read another middle grade, I will, because they're a lot of fun. But JVK, thank you. Thank you for such an amazing read. Considering how my last couple of books, they just weren't up to where I wanted them to be. Night Watch, which was the most recent book that I read that I did not do a review on, but I did talk about it in my weekly vlogs. It was a good book, but it wasn't amazing. It was great to read my first amazing book in like the last 3 weeks. So I really, really, really did appreciate that. If you like science fiction, if you're good with reading middle grade, and you just want to have a fun read, I definitely recommend this book. If the missing father trope is a trigger for you, then I definitely won't recommend this book, because Trout, we definitely see, feel, hear things from how he feels on the inside dealing with all of this. And so if that is a trigger for you, don't read it, because they definitely go there with this book. But KV Lang, I think that's her name. I'm just going to turn this around. No, JV Cade. Okay, I do apologize. It is very late here, guys. JV Cade, she definitely did her research. I talk more about it in my Good Reads review, but I can relate to certain aspects when it comes to the missing father trope, and she wrote this incredibly well, and I kind of wish that I had read this growing up, because I really would have appreciated it then. So if that doesn't trigger you, definitely read this book, because she does that very well. You can definitely tell she's done her research on that side of things. If this is something that you haven't read before, a missing father trope, I definitely recommend starting with this. It's great to get a child who's that age and their perspective of it, rather than the adult perspective of it. So that was really good. But the characters are so much fun, and that scissor robot is so adorable. I'm sorry, she is. LT, who is the other main robot, he's the one that rescues Trout. He's okay. If I don't think about it too much, I feel like he's human, even though he is a robot. But Scissor is just the most adorable little thing. In one particular scene, Trout is talking to V. They're on a playground together, and Scissor's running after this dog who's freaking out, because of a robot is coming after him. But Scissor's going, "Come here, doggy. I'm not going to hurt you. Oh, you're so cute. Look at him wag his tail." Like, she's just so adorable. Anyway. It was just wonderful, wonderful book with a really happy, beautifully emotional ending that occurs at the end as well. And it's an amazing story arc for Trout, because considering where Trout is at the beginning of the novel and he's trying to, find his dad and all that kind of stuff, I love how by the time you get to the end, the confidence in him with everything he's achieved by getting to this place with LT, by reconnecting with his father, going out and going after Poe, even though it's probably not something he probably should have done, but he still did anyway, and successfully getting Poe out of there and getting back, and he just gained a ton of confidence, and it was just really, really, really beautiful to see. So I've gushed more than enough about this book, but I absolutely loved every single moment of it. Have you read this book? Is this a book you'd like to consider reading? If so, certainly let me know what you, if you plan to read it, or if you have read it, what your thoughts were. They may have differed from mine. You might have absolutely hated this book, or you might have given it 5 stars. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But in the meantime, I'm going to let you guys go. Peace, blessings, and so much love. Mwah. Thank you so much for watching. I post videos every Wednesday and Saturday with reading vlogs, and also reviews during the week. Until next time, happy reading. Bye guys. Bye.